SMB song. It's by Eminem, Till I Collapse, if you guys were wondering. Alright, so thank God you guys removed the water from right here. Thank you, Eric. Because the whole time it was so distracting. Yeah, because, hey, it's a good thing though, because Jason was so fired up that the whole time it was like this. I was getting so distracted. Yeah, but awesome speakers so far, yes? Yeah. Man, Jeff and Jason, the two J's, are just killing it up there. And then also, he mentioned Ling Li, and it's so true. We definitely have the best group here, especially our SMBs, right, in the front, because she was so shocked that Eric said, oh, they're all in their 20s, 30 at most, right? So, and she asked, who's your oldest SMB and how old are they? So I won't say the age, but Eric said it, and she was like, wow, that's amazing. So think about it, we're all so young, but the way we carry ourselves, we're so mature. Really keep that up, you guys. We want to keep a high standard so everyone can look up to us, even though we're young, because age is just a number, yes? Yes. Okay, so who has heard of me talk about my first time meeting Eric? Oh wow, that's it, okay. So I'll briefly mention it, but let me just backtrack a little bit. Now, who has heard of Wisely talk about how skeptical I was when I first came into the business? Okay, more of you guys. All right, so I was actually arguably probably the most skeptical recruit that he has had. So he came into the business, it was late March, he got coded. He didn't really start working until April, but he never really told me about the business. So he actually got started, he came to the meeting, I didn't know anything about it, but all I heard, especially starting from April, was Eric, 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 Eric the whole time. And I was like, who's Eric? Moise says earlier, you were talking about Jasmine, right? You were like, oh, who's Jasmine? So I'm like, is it Eric or Erica? That's what I was thinking. I'm just kidding. So the first maybe 2 months, it almost took me 2 months to go see the business. And he called me, right? Finally in April, he called me. He said, look, there's a millionaire that I met. He's a self-made millionaire. He'll be training us, and it's just amazing how many cars he has, what cars he has, all of that. Now, you have to understand, I came from a very, very poor and humble background, right? So when you come from that type of background, your family oftentimes tells you that rich people are snobs. Who has heard of that before, right? And it's just because of how we were brought up. And plus, I love my family, right? But I know that they have to justify some way, some form, some shape or form, that why we couldn't have those things. So I didn't understand at that time, but when Wisely was telling me about Eric, I just thought to myself, oh, that doesn't faze me, they're rich, they're probably snobs, right? That's what I thought in my head. So I told him, I don't want to see the business, it's a scam. Everything that a lot of your prospects or your warm market is telling you, that's what I thought. And I told him it's a pyramid, it's a scam, why do we have to pay, all the things, I gave it to him. And he said, you have to just meet him, you have to see it. I said, I don't want to meet him, right? So finally, I think it was like a month and a half later, finally we set up lunch. So in Monterey Park, there's a Thai restaurant, it's called Thai Paradise. Do you remember, Eric? Okay, so it was Thai Paradise, so Wisely and I arrived, and Ryan was there setting up the course. It was actually the license course for Wisely. And I was like, what, you have to pay more? What is this? And I was already pissed off, I was sitting there, and then we were sitting right next to a window. I remember clearly, so it was next to a window, and Eric had his yellow Ferrari at the time. And I see a yellow Ferrari, I hear it, I see it, it rolled up. And I was like, great. He brought his Ferrari, let's hear it, he's gonna brag the whole time. It was right next to our window. It was crazy. And he usually likes parking there too, which is, you're a nice car, you want to be able to see it, monitor it, right? So he parked there and he walked in. But the first thing I noticed was nothing was branded. Nothing flashy about it, nothing was branded. I still remember what you wore. I think you had white shoes on, probably Puma. And then he had his light jeans on, and it was a button-up shirt, a casual white button-up shirt. So it was like a loose shirt, it was more casual. Yeah, I remember rolled up sleeve, everything, right? So he sat down, and he did not talk about the business at all. I was so shocked. The whole time I was just waiting for it. He's gonna talk about the money he makes, he's gonna talk about the business, he's gonna try to recruit me. He didn't say anything about the business. It was so shocking, but what he did say, it really stood out to me, was he talked about hard work. And that's something I do know about because my family, they work hard. and for what they do, the results doesn't really show it, right? Financial situation doesn't show it. But that stood out to me, and I remember one thing specifically he said, no one's lucky. No one's lucky in life, but the harder you work, the luckier you get. And it just stuck with me. So honestly, even though I was negative, throughout the conversation, he was building such a solid relationship that I was just opening up. I was actually under the table taking notes on what he was saying. It was crazy, and he wasn't even trying to do a training or something like that, but his mindset is so awesome, and I caught on to that. So after that, I thought to myself, well, he's so humble. He's a self-made millionaire. He's not bragging about anything. I need to learn from him. So that made more sense to me. But in the beginning, I was wondering, why would a millionaire be working with us? Someone so average, so young, we're just going to school. But because he sat down and he was building that relationship, I decided to go down to the meeting. So this is probably 2 months in. I finally went to a meeting. Long story short, I got started. And since then, every achievement, everything that I did, he was EPRing me, right? So encourage, praise, and recognize. He did it for everything that I did. And then I thought to myself, wow, he really cares. So I really started communicating with him a lot more. And if you guys know Eric, isn't he great with communication?
Yeah.
Man, you text him within the hour. If he's not in an appointment, he'll text you right back. You call him, he'll call you right back. I'm sure there are people that he doesn't want to talk to, but he still calls you guys back and he still texts you back, right? So it's awesome, and that's leadership right there. So because of that, I will tell you right now that I'm here today and I did not quit. And a lot of it is credited to because he was building a relationship not just with Wisely, but he took the time to build a relationship with me too. And I truly appreciate that, and I'm so glad that I was able to get that mentorship from him. And just the other day, right, we were talking about mentorship and how you don't assume that you have a mentor. So I actually asked Eric a couple days ago, I was like, can you please be my mentor, right? So this whole time he's been mentoring us, but it's nice to really get that confirmation that, okay, cool, he's our mentor. But what I want to talk about, so let me get into the talk, is why you need to build a relationship with your teammate. Because of what Eric had did with us, I want to be able to relay that to you guys because I learned directly from him. He instilled that building relationship mentality right from the start. And Jason was talking about that, I think it was quadrant 2, he kept talking about was building relationship. So they're really good at that too. But why you need to build a relationship is to retain people. Think about all the people that came into your business. A lot of them probably quit because you didn't have a relationship with them. They need to find joy in being here, being at the office. And I'm not talking about just our own teammates, you have to be hierarchy blind. Why don't you build a relationship with other teammates too? Because when you build up the office environment, doesn't it help all your teams?
Yes.
Yeah, so you want to make sure you're building a relationship with everybody, help each other out. We're one big team, one big family, Genesis, right? We're gonna kick butt, but we need to work together as one. So people want to feel like they belong. They want to feel like they're a part of something. So you want to make sure you bring that environment into our office. Also, another thing I realized is that friends don't quit on friends. I saw Eric as a friend. Yes, he was way up here. He has high standards. But because of the relationship, I knew that I'm not going to quit on him. I don't want to disappoint him. So you want to make sure that you're building that relationship because business partners do quit on business partners. And also, according to the Gallup organization, I was reading this article the other day by chance, and it said that people who has a close friend at work tend to have seven times more likely to be engaged and produce. So that's absolutely true in our business too. If you have a solid relationship, isn't it easier to challenge your people? Yes or no?
Yes.
Absolutely. Because guess what? If you don't have a relationship and you're just yelling at them and you're snapping out at them, they're gonna either quit or think you're a douchebag, right? You probably sound really mean. But if you're a friend and you know their hot buttons and you know what to press, they're not gonna be mad at you. They know that you care. So that's the angle you have to come from. They have to know you care enough for you to challenge them. It's a different environment, right? And also environment with great relationships and positive influence attracts more people. Every time I interview people, I always ask them what stood out to them about the presentation or in the office. They always mention how they love the family environment that we have. Isn't it true? You see us in Mozone, we all love each other, it's all lovey-dovey, everyone edifies each other. Isn't that a great environment to be in?
Yes.
Do we get that in corporate America?
No.
No, in corporate America there's politics, there's drama, people want to step all over each other to get to the next level. But we don't do that, we help and push each other to the next level, right? So people get attracted to that, that's why we build a relationship. And also, everybody with the best relationship with Eric is usually doing the best in the business. Well, success leaves clues. Why don't you start building relationship with your uplines and uplines, right? And our CEO. That's so crucial. And humans are naturally social creatures. Even though a lot of you guys make me question this statement, right? But It's true, we're naturally social creatures. I study sociology, I study people all the time, but we just need to let that side of us out. Now, how we build a relationship is what I really want to touch up on. So first thing is, a relationship is mutual. It's two ways. You can't just be the only one reaching out, and they can't be the only one reaching out as well, right? It's vice versa, same thing. So when someone is brand new, I typically spend the first 2 weeks being a little bit more I take initiative. So if they don't text me, it's because they're barely getting started. They're a baby. Yes, we say no baby or babysitting in our business, but in the beginning, they need that guidance. So why don't you text them, guide them? In Mozone, you have to guide them. Especially their first BPM, you better be walking, literally holding their hands, walking them through the BPM. But after that, slowly they'll catch on, and the right ones will start contacting you. I've noticed that with all of our directs, especially our directs. So the first 2 weeks, I would start contacting them, I would keep in touch with them, I'm practically living with them, right? But then after 2 weeks, the right ones will start catching on, and they'll start texting me first. They'll say good morning, they'll tell me their activity, and I don't no longer have to really reach out first, right? So that's important, and we need to start building that culture too. And you have to be willing to listen, be patient with your teammates. I've noticed a lot of us get really snappy, and I'm talking about everybody in here, and I actually used to be guilty of this too. We call it 0 to 60 or 0 to 100, right? So we need to stop doing that, because you need to listen to your teammates. You won't know what's wrong with them. You can't give the proper advice if you're not listening. YZ actually gave a really good analogy, and it stuck with me, is that, can you imagine if you go to the doctors, you only said one sentence about what's going on with your body, and they're like, here, let me prescribe you this medication. Is that scary?
Yes.
How do you know if it's the right, right type of medicine? So same thing with our business. If you're trying to give your teammates advice or guide them, why don't you listen first and let them finish and really focus on what's wrong? Because if you just hurry up and prescribe something, well, it's probably not going to help them. And you want to make sure you actually give them the chance, right, to speak. Yes. And then also, another thing is, you want to be a leader. You have to have high standards, like I mentioned earlier, and lead by example. A lot of you think that if you have high standards, you tell your teammates what they should and shouldn't be doing, it's going to ruin the relationship. Well, ironically, it's the opposite. Because if they see you have high standards, they see that you're winning, they see that you actually care and inspire others, and you're willing to make them better, they're going to have a better relationship with you. That's why our relationship with Eric is so good, right? Because we actually see him performing at his peak. And he's always having high standards, leading by example. And you want to start asking people about their personal life too. I see this a lot, that sometimes we just have a business relationship with our teammates. We literally are constantly drilling them like, hey, what are you doing? Where are you? And okay, how many numbers did you get? And that's their whole conversation the whole day. I get it, that's important, but you can start by, in our script too, do we just start by saying, hey, I need you to come down to my office?
No.
No, you build rapport. Same thing with your teammates. You need to build some rapport. Ask about their personal life, ask how they're doing. When they know that you genuinely care, that's when they're gonna listen. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yep.
So it's important that you don't just talk business all the time. I remember this clearly, is Tao actually had an infection and one time, right? And I remember it was the beginning of her business. Yeah, your throat. Okay, it sounds bad when I said infection, right? Tao had an infection. It was strep throat, right?
Tonsillitis.
Okay, tonsillitis. Anyway, so when she was going through that, she didn't come to the office that day, and I remember we could have easily just called her and be like, hey, are you okay? Okay, feel better, or text her and be like, feel better. YZ and I personally went over to her place, we brought her soup and everything, because that's when your teammates know you're there for them. And it means a lot more when you physically show up to see them. So little things like that you want to make sure you're implementing too. And then EPR your teammates, encourage, praise, and recognize them. Notice their sacrifices, no matter how big or small. Even if it means that someone doesn't show up to meetings ever, and one day they show up, why don't you pull them aside and be like, look, I'm so proud of you for being here. I know you made your sacrifices. I know your daughter had to be with the babysitter, but you're here today. Hey, you're gonna win for your daughter. Yes. You know, you want to recognize them for their sacrifices, and that's huge, especially if they have kids. You want to make sure that they know that you're noticing these things. Guess what? Some people say, oh, I don't care for recognition. But everybody cares for recognition, right?
Yeah.
Especially new teammates. I love it when you give them their Fast Start Award. I feel like they take it home and they sleep with it. That's how excited they are. They take pictures of it, they post it on Instagram, like they just won an Oscar award or something. So it's true, people, they really love recognition. So make sure you're giving that to them. Another big thing is I used to be extremely guilty of, which is why I'm actually saying this out loud to you guys, is avoid gossiping. Because that's the biggest relationship killer. You'd rather just deal direct. Guess what? Gossip and all of that, it always goes back around to that actual person. So why don't you just cut it out, go straight to the source and talk to them about it? They're gonna hear about it anyways, right? So like I said, I was guilty of this. I had to course correct and fix it too. So that's why I'm telling you guys this. This is so crucial. There's no point of gossiping. We're not in high school anymore, yes?
Yes.
Okay, also you want to, of course, have your teammates. Okay, there's some teammates I know you're not compatible with. Sometimes it's hard to like some of our teammates, especially once you start building volume, you build a bigger team. You don't know who comes into our business. I could say we have had our fair share of crazies in our business, right? Eric can definitely attest to this. We've had all kinds of people walk into our double doors. We had police on site, like all of that, right? We had some crazy stuff that went down. But you have to understand, as a leader, the best leader will give his or her full effort to at least trying to build that relationship, right? To get to know their teammates, because not all relationships are absolutely amazing, but you can try your best to make it work and at least give them a chance. But more importantly is identifying your key players. If you know who really deserves your time, who's really always there, you want to spend a little bit more time with them because they actually want it. You have to know when to cut it too, right? Cut your losses. There are some people that they don't want it. They're not meeting us halfway, then what's the point? Let them figure it out. And give your teammates a glimpse of your life so at least they know you're open to sharing about your family. Like when I share my story, when I present, the first time it was hard because I'm very private. And I think maybe it's a culture thing too. A lot of Asians tend to be a little bit more private. So for this business, for us to open up like that, it is hard. But once I did, I felt like I was able to inspire a lot of people and it made sense for me to share with our teammates. And plus, anything that you do, it reciprocates back to you. Because once you open up, your teammates will open up to you too. So it's a two-way street, like I said. You need to make sure that they see a glimpse of your life too. And don't only see your teammates at the office. I think this one's huge too. And I'm not saying go outside and turn up with them all the time and party it up, not like that. But even if it's to switch the environment, we used to have phone zone in Monterey Park, at Coffee Zone, at La Arbre, right? The old days we used to have that. Because when you switch up the environment, it's different. Even if it's a phone zone somewhere else or at someone's house. We did that at William's house before too. But it's cool. You switch it up, they know that you're actually introducing them to your home or into your personal life. It's a different environment. So same thing with hanging out. If you feel that they deserve it, well, after productive hours, why don't you grab a quick drink at a boba shop or something like that, right? So you can take some time and actually take them out of the office so they know that you're not just having a business relationship with them. Also, celebrate your milestones with your teammates. I'm talking about birthdays, weddings, whatever it is, right? Baby showers, if you have kids. So these you do want to incorporate your team so they're actually part of that, part of everything. And keep, like I said, keep the grind fun. People want to make sure that it's actually fun so they don't just say, forget it, I don't want to do this, right? And a lot of times for let's say your recruits that quit, who actually keeps a relationship with them? Okay, and who burns bridges right away? Okay, a few of you guys are honest. So I'll tell you, so a few of you, right? I started out that way. In 2012, it was either you stay here and you win in this business or you're a loser. If you quit, you're a loser, right? So I had that mentality in 2012, it was cutthroat. And I burned a lot of bridges. A lot of people, they quit. I'm like, oh, you're a loser. Yeah, go back to the complacent life. Oh, you just don't want it. Like, we just attack them, right? So that's why now what I do is I keep in touch with all of these people because you never know. I'm not saying that you want to revive the dead, right, or raise the dead, but sometimes keep that relationship. You never know. Timing is everything. Potentially they'll be able to come back into the business, right? Lastly, I'll close with this, is don't blur that line between upline, downline relationship and a friendship. You don't want to be only seen as a friend. So what I'm talking about is not that extreme. Does that make sense? You build a relationship, be professional, but don't get to the point where it's so casual they only see you as a friend. Then they're not going to listen to you or follow you. So just make sure, a couple of things, I hope this actually helps, and then I'll see you guys at Gala tonight.